So I want to talk briefly about selecting things and the editable poly modifier and the stack. So this is just going to be a little overview, and we'll drill into things in more detail later. So I've got this little crazy plane thing here, and it's made up of a whole bunch of objects. So I can make them different colors maybe, and we can see a bit what's going on. So we've got all these different components like this. I have to have a special tool for making things different colors, but let's not worry about that now. Okay, so we've got multiple components, and they are all separate objects even, if it goes like that. That has some sort of glitch at the top, which is bad. And they use a setup which you use commonly. So we have a turbo smooth modifier, and some of them have. So that's good. Let's look at this. So this is like the cowling, which looks like that. So I'm pressing. It's useful when you have a model built up of multiple parts to use this button, which is the isolation selection toggle. So just tick this on and off, and you can just focus on one bit while you're working. So now we're looking at the cowl. So the cowl, we're going to go into the modifier stack, and then we're going to look at how it works. So we've got multiple components, and down at the bottom we have our editable poly modifier. Wow, I can't speak today. So let's go through. We're going to turn them off by clicking on this eye. So if I don't want to see that bit, don't want to see that bit, and I don't want to see that bit either. So this is the actual bit of the model I actually work on, which is just this one half, which is single-sided. If I go and do displays, backface the cull, you can see I can now see through it. There we go. And then I'm going to build up the rest of the model by using these modifiers. So we've got symmetry, which will mirror and weld everything together. And then I've got shell, which will give it thickness. And then on top I've got turbo smooth, which will give it smoothness. So quite often what I'll do is I'll make a stack of things, which a stack of processes, which I know I'm going to use, and then I'll go into here, into the editable poly modifier, and I'll start my work. So I'm pressing F3 and F4 a lot to swap between various shadings, which help me understand what's going on. So let's have F4, which is the edge selection mode. So what can we do in editable poly? So we can move stuff around, and we've got vertices, edges, borders. So let's talk a bit about that. These are the different subcomponents of the mesh. The points, lines joining these points, which are edges. Skip borders a second. Polygons, which are just the faces. And then the element, which is the whole continuous piece of mesh. We can have multiple elements. And then we've got borders. So borders is a continuous open edge like that. See that highlighted in red. So let's say we want to make a hole. Give it some other features. So we can let's clone things like this. So we can do shift drag, and we can clone that to an element like that. So now the object has two continuous pieces of mesh, that one and that one. We have two separate elements. And if I let go, you can see that's all now mirrored on the other side. I can delete faces just by clicking on them and pressing delete, like that. And now we've got some sort of interesting feature which you could start working with. So let's maybe drag that in there a bit. And I can see that in context. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I can start playing with that a bit, so let's go back in again, go back into isolation mode, and let's say we want to join up these edges, and I can do that with what's called a bridge operation. So let's do that. We'll turn on bridge, And we'll just click on that edge and then that edge, that and then that edge, this one and that one, and we'll leave that front bit open. Looks a bit cooler. Scale it down a bit, maybe. And I can also work live, so if I turn this on and off, that'll show me the results of the whole stack. Everything's activated. And you can see that updating on the other side as well. So now we have that kind of thing, which is quite interesting. Okay, so that's an introduction to the editable poly modifier and the stack. And then in the next lesson we'll talk about how to create editable polys, and we'll drill deeper into some of the operations that you can do.